Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole Scrapbooks. I am a creative memories advisor from Madison, Alabama. And with this video, I'm coming to you with our May 2024 installment of the Savvy Scrapbookers. This is a video series that I do with my two good friends, Debbie Martin and Donna Guest, where we take one creative memories paper pack and either the stickers or the embellishments. We divvy it up amongst ourselves, and then each of us creates a layout using the pieces that we have chosen. So today we're using Denim Revival, and we're using the designer papers and the embellishments. Creative Memories has had several denim themed paper packs over the years, but I love that this one, they brought in a little bit of this kind of rusty brown and beige and kind of a khaki color. I just think that that's making these layouts so much more visually interesting. I'm super excited to get to play with them. So for this layout, the papers that I chose were this chevron denim, which I really like. It also has a much lighter denim stripe on the back, and of course it's double-sided, so you can do what you like if you prefer that paper. I also have this rusty red terracotta, I'm not quite sure what to call it. The back is a blue, kind of a denim quilt. I actually had a quilt like that when I was about a freshman in high school. And then one piece of this medium brown. So there's also a kind of a light khaki. That one's not mine. But this, the medium brown is mine. So I have the dark rusty brown, the medium brown, and then the two chevron papers. And we're going to use these papers and a few of the embellishments to create this layout. So this layout is a relatively simple one, and I love that it's something that you could do with any paper pack. And in fact, at the end, I'm going to show you the exact same layout done with last month's paper pack, which was Birds and Blossoms. But we're going to take our two background papers and set them aside. If you didn't want to use your designer papers for this, you could actually even use a solid cardstock. But I kind of like this one with this subtle chevron background because these other patterns are almost solids. Now the back pieces we're going to use a little bit of, and they're much more patterned. But the main pieces we're going to see are kind of this solid side. So we're going to set these pieces aside to be our background. And then we have, we're just going to make cuts on two of these papers. Both of them are going to start the same way. And that is, we're going to cut a 3 by 12 inch piece off of one side, and it doesn't matter which side. I don't think it matters for this one. So that's a 3 by 12, and then you're going to turn that piece and cut cut that whole piece into 4 3 by 3 squares. All right, so there's our 3 by 3 of that one, and then we're going to do the exact same thing with the other paper. And we are going to be using both sides of this. So if you're using a different paper pack, you just want to make sure that it's a paper pack that you like both sides. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now with the lighter one, this is the easiest of the cuts. We're going to take this paper that is now 9 inches by 12. We're going to turn it sideways, 90 degrees, and we're going to cut it once at 4.5 inches. So that you end up with a 4.5 inch by 9 and a 7.5 inch by 9. And last month I made a cutting guide, and you guys seem to like that. So I have made a cutting guide again. So here's piece 1. You want to, screenshot that, or, if you're watching on your TV, take a picture with your phone. So we got the 4 3 by 3 squares. Then you turn it, cut it at 4.5 inches, and you get the 9 by 7.5 and the 9 by 4.5. All right, so that's paper number 1. Paper number 2 is a little bit more, it's not really complicated, but it has one extra step. And that's because we're going to punch using the Border Maker system. And we're going to be using the double rickrack cartridge for the Border Maker system. If you own the Border Maker system and do not have this cartridge, I highly, highly recommend it. It is so versatile. It's one of those generic cartridges that's not specifically themed, and it can go with anything. But I thought it especially went with kind of this denim. I'm kind of, thinking of that denim quilt I had when I was in high school. It's made me kind of think about the 70s and 80s, and you know, Rick Rack was a thing. So we're going to punch with the Border Maker cartridge on this darker red paper. And, you know, you kind of want one that's a little bit of a solid. If you don't have the double Rick Rack, I don't know that you could replicate this step. You might want to just trim 1 inch off of this paper and use that for scrap. And then you could use a sticker border down the side. But the double Rick Rack is kind of what makes this layout, I think. But one thing that's interesting about the double Rick Rack is you'll see when you cut it, these little pieces can be a little bit floppy. And so one of the things I've learned to do with some of these finer Border Maker cartridges on designer paper is that when you get going cutting down your paper, the paper has lost its integrity because you've cut it apart, and that's when your Border Maker cartridge tends to jam. So instead of punching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm going to alternate and do 1, 3, and 5. And you can see my paper is still really fairly stable, so that now when I go back and cut this way, see how it just fell? You don't want it to be falling when you're trying to continue cutting. So if it still has enough of its own strength to hold it together and to keep it from jamming up in your cartridge. So we're going to save these 2 pieces, and then we also want to save these little middle pieces that got cut out with each of the punches. So there are 6 of them. And I really did try to find a way to use the other little, these little roller coastery ones, but it was just too much. So we just want this little piece that came out of the middle when we punched out our double Rick Rack chain. Okay, so save those as well. Now this piece, unfortunately, is not going to be exactly the size that we would like it to be because we want to cut some mats out of it, and it's not quite 8 inches wide now. It's just a hair less than 8 inches. So if you see right here, it's just, you know, not even 1/8 of an inch. We're just going to pretend that it's 8 inches, and we're going to cut it at 4 into 2 4x12-inch strips. And so one of them's not going to quite be 4 inches, but nobody's ever going to know. I'm just going to go ahead and stack these and turn them and cut them at 6 inches to give me 4 4x6-inch photo mats. And so here's my cutting guide. Well, hopefully you can make sense of my little squiggly lines right here. That's the double Rick Rack chain Border Maker cartridge right there. And it's about 1 inch difference that it's going to leave. All right, and that's all our cutting. And now we get to the assembly part. So this is a very speedy layout for me. Nothing too fussy today. And we're going to bring back our background pages and set them up side by side. And I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to align these papers. It doesn't really kind of line up in the middle at all. I don't know that it matters. Just kind of figure out what looks good to you. I'll probably do it like that. Okay, and then we're going to take all of those 3-inch squares. You should have 8 of them. And we want to use one of each design. So we're going to have one of the medium brown, one of the dark brown, and then one of the dark blue denim, and one of the light blue denim. And then you just want to arrange these randomly. I liked it with the medium brown kind of at the top and the bottom. And then I put the dark brown here, the dark blue there, the light blue there. And I wanted the light blue up here because that's where we're going to put our little star embellishment. And I didn't want it to be too same, too symmetrical. I like things to be, you know, just a little varied and to look random, even though it, you know, took a lot of thought to make it look quote unquote random. So I'm just going to adhere these pieces down. And even though they're technically squares, sometimes it might, they might not quite be exact. So if you're going to have it not quite line up, have that be on this inside edge because we're going to cover that over with the Rick Rack border. So we'll just line it up. I'm just using the side of my paper to keep everything straight. Actually, my pieces are lining up pretty well. Maybe I'm getting the hang of this whole cutting straight thing. Oh, she spoke too soon. This one feels a little bit small. Actually, it looks like it's going off the edge just a smidge. So I'm going to turn it this way and see if maybe it's better that way. Okay, that's a little bit better. And then I'll do the same right here. All right, so now I've got my side frame pieces down, and we're going to put the rickrack on. So I'm going to use my silicone mat. This is not a product that is available for purchase anymore, but if you don't have something like that, you can use a piece of like wax paper or parchment paper. Before Creative Memories came out with this, I just have a piece of a silicone baking mat. I bought this on Amazon and cut it into strips. Long Feet, I guess, is the brand. I don't know if you can see that. But I just cut it up, and it works exactly the same way. When it gets dirty, like it is right now, you just run it under some clean water, just run it under water to clean it off. All right, and so this one, we're going to be able to put both of these together. I want the red side up, so I want to make sure that when I punch it, when I tape it, I put the tape on the right side, and we're going to use the repositionable for this. I know some people use Repo for everything, and if you do, that's great, but I like regular adhesive for most of my things. I just like to save Repo for little fiddly things like this. Oops. See, I'm just kind of going over both of them at the same time just to save a little bit on adhesive, and then we'll just pull them apart. And when we adhere this down, I'm going to zoom my camera in. So you can see that what I want to do is make sure that when the little circles go over, that I cover up this line. So I just barely get this on here and just kind of wiggle it. I don't want it like that. I want it all the way on here, and that'll make sure that it is straight. And then it hides any imperfections right here where I might not have lined up correctly. And of course, this is the same color, but you could see, you could see right here that if I went like that, it would have that little blue showing. And so you don't want any of that blue showing. You want this to go right down the line. Even on this one, that's the same color. I think it's okay, even though it is the same color. And then we'll do the same to the other page. The nice thing about the repositionable is that you can, kind of finesse it and wiggle it and get it straight where you need it. And it happens pretty quickly. All right, so there's my kind of borders to my layout. Then we're going to take the two medium brown pieces, and one of them is going to go on the right-hand side, and the other is going to go on the left. I don't know if I can tell or if I care. I think that's where the cut was, because it's kind of got this little wavy stuff up here. So I think that's the way it went. And you want it a little bit more than an inch from the bottom. It doesn't exactly matter. I just felt like that here on my grid, maybe it is just an inch. Let's call it an inch just to make measuring easier, but we'll just kind of put it about an inch. You do not need to measure, just about an inch. You don't want it centered. You want it to kind of be down a little bit. And then of course you want the facing page to line up exactly. So what I like to do is to actually butt these up against each other. And then because this is raised a little bit, it makes it so easy to position this on here. All right. And then we're going to take our photo mats, and you may at this point want to wait and see what your photos look like. And I may not stick mine down quite yet, except I want to show you the other little embellishment detail that I want to use. So we're going to have two mats right here. a mat here, and then I put this one kind of off to the side because we're going to take these little remaining extra pieces that, you know, otherwise might be trash and use them for a little decorative embellishment. So I just put them, I mean, and you could do them either way, I guess. I mean, you could always do anything either way. If you wanted to put this with the blue side up, you absolutely could. But I'm going to do it with the brown side up. And I just want to make sure that they're all the same way. So see how these kind of are opposite of each other? I don't want that. I want them to all be parallel. Apparently that was the first one was the good one. So, and in order to make sure that all of these things are straight, you notice I haven't stuck this down. I'm going to use my zero centering ruler and just kind of figure out, this is kind of eyeballed where I want it, but I'm going to use my ruler and find where the top of this is going to be. I want it to be straight. Looks like it's going to be an inch, 2¼ inches from the top. All right, and I'm going to stick this guy down. I don't want it to touch over here. I want to have, I want to leave a gap just because these are both the same color. All right, and then I'm going to take these, and again, I'm going to use the repositionable adhesive, and I'm going to do 2 at a time. And you could possibly do more, but 2 feels like it's about the width of the tape runner, and I'm just going to do it on the ends and in the middle. And I'm going to leave this ruler right here, and I'm going to butt one side up against the photo mat, and then the little ridges against the ruler. And so that's just going to make these straight. And then I'm just going to do my best to eyeball these when I stick them down so that they are about the same distance apart. And actually, when I did my sample, I realized after I had it all stuck down that one of them was crooked, and it was just not a big deal to go back and straighten it out. We'll just position these little guys. It almost looks like, you know, like a canceled postage stamp, what they call it, postmark. That's what they call it, a postmark. And but I don't. That's not really what I was going for. But it kind of also kind of gives the kind of stars and stripes effect because we're going to be using the star embellishments from the Denim Revival. And like I say, I really did try to find a way to use these little other pieces. So if you can think of something, that would be great. You get 12 of these, and you only get 6 of these because that's on both sides of the little design. So, I mean, I looked at it and I thought about putting them, you know, maybe down here in the corner. Whoops, I want it that way on the, you know, down here in the corner. So I think, I mean, you could maybe do something with them if you really can't bear to have them wasted, but you don't need to, and I did not. So save them for some other project or a card. You could do something on a card, actually. All right, so now I've got this one down and it's straight, and I'm going to use it kind of to position this one. And I don't often leave, you know, kind of white space toward the inside, but for this one, I really liked the way it looked. So we'll just put that, get that, hopefully that one is straight. And then I'm going to put these 2 here. And again, I don't want the edge of this to be touching the rickrack. So I'm only leaving about 1/8 of an inch in between the mats. I'm kind of lining these up the same. And I'm, you know, thinking that you would put other pictures up here. They just wouldn't be matted. And I have some pictures for this one. Last month I just ran out of time and didn't have pictures, but this one I think I have some pictures. All right, so there's our mats, and this is just kind of the base of the layout right here. And of course you could do your pictures, you know, your photo mats in any other direction that you want. So the embellishments that I picked when we were dividing them up, this little frame that said life is sweet, I'm going to put in this corner. This little one that said captured moments, which I'm going to put down here. And then I got this little tag, this little label with, it looks like little faux rivets. They're just printed, but it looks really 3D. And there's a bunch of different words, sayings that you could add onto these. And these come in all the colors, you know, the different colors of the denim. But I chose to use documented because I thought we'd put captured moments documented down here. I don't know how I want it. Something like that. And then we're going to take the biggest dark blue star and put it right here on our stripes with this little tag. And then I'm going to take these 3 stars and put them up here. So I'll go ahead and put those down, and then I'll put my pictures on. Ordinarily, I would probably put my pictures down first and then put my embellishments. But for this one, just because of the, you know, the whole Savvy Scrapbookers thing, I know I'm going to use these. So I'm going to put this one on, actually, I think I'm going to put this on some foam squares. I like some dimension, and I find in my albums that often the middles this is where I do a lot of my layering, and so the outside tends to not be super thick, and so sometimes the outside edges they feel a little wimpy. So I don't mind putting foam squares on the outside. I'm going to put a foam square on the inside too, which I don't usually like to do, but I think it needed it. So I'll put this at a little angle. Life is sweet. And then for this one, I want to put the this little hanging tag with the rivet kind of at, and I probably ought to, you know, look at these together while I decide. I want the rivet to show. I thought about doing it so that like it hangs down from the star with no rivet showing. That actually looks kind of cute too, but I liked the angle of it. So I'm going to have the rivet show, and then we'll put the star. I'm going to use some little tiny foam squares because I want to put them in, because this is going to be in the middle where it's more likely to get squished. I'm going to actually put little foam squares in all the little legs of the star. And these are the little tiniest ones. But I do love foam squares. I remember years ago when Creative Memories came out with them, I was so excited because I love dimensionals, and I love knowing that these are tested and going to be safe for my scrapbook. Sometimes when I have bought other stuff that's designed for card making or whatever, I don't know if has a permanent adhesive that's photo safe. All right, and on this one, I kind of am breaking the rule of 3, you know, that we've learned about. Noreen talks about that, because I don't know, I feel like you still get kind of a triangle shape, even though it's kind of a different triangle. So rules are meant to be broken, right? So I'm going to stick this guy onto the tab. And this one's going to be just flat down on the page. And then I'm going to put this one on some foam squares. I'm running out of the big ones. And I know that I tend to use too many foam squares. I know I see people that just put one in the middle and they're perfectly content, but I like to have lots of foam squares. And of course, if you don't like the dimension, your albums are too bulky, you certainly don't have to put them on a foam square. Just stick them on down. But I did want to put this kind of at a different opposite angle. I put that one that way, and I'm going to put this kind of that way. So they kind of go together, you know, captured moments documented. And then the stars, I'm going to put the 2 smaller ones just straight down on the page. And I'll put the big one on some foam squares to pop it up and make a little cluster. So again, I'm going to use all the little foam squares in the arms of the star. if you had the foam tape, you could use that here too. Or if your foam squares are too big, you can cut them in half. I do that a lot, actually. Cut them so that I can have even distribution of foam squares. All right, but there we go. And so then this guy is going to be just like that. All right, so I like all of those things. And this layout now is done, except for photos, of course. But I'm going to add some photos. But if you don't care about seeing my photos and you just want to copy this for yourself, this is what your layout will look like. I also did this exact same layout using Birds and Blossoms. And I really like it. And I debated, because the back side of this paper is this green, and I thought this would be a really nice, the green would have been really nice, but it was just a little too boring for me. But the thing to remember with a really busy photo mat like this is that once you get your pictures on here, you don't see very much of the photo mat, right? It covers up the photo mat in here. So it's okay to use a really busy mat. So I hope you can see that, and then we'll put, something up here. Anyway, we'll see how this is going to work on the other layout. But I just want to show you that even if your paper is busy and you are worried about that, just remember this is a mat. It's not going to stay this busy. All right, so now I've given you a sneak preview. I am currently working furiously on a scrapbook of my extended family's family reunion. We have a family reunion every 3 years, and our last one was in 2021, and so the next one is this summer, and I'm trying to get it done so we'll have it done when we are there together. So this page is just all the pictures I caught of like siblings doing things together. And these are 4x6 mats, but these are digital photos, so they're only 4 1/4. So I'm gonna have no trouble cropping them down. I would love to be able to crop that one down to like 3 inches, and maybe this one down to 3 inches to fit. Got some of these siblings. Actually, I think this one I can cut smaller, so I think I'll put that one there. Oh no, I'll put this one down here because this is the same kid and I don't want him to have prime real estate both places. And these two. And my daughters, who look so much alike that the little, I think he was 4 at the time, couldn't tell them apart. It was very sweet. So they happened to have the same Christmas nightgown, and they both brought their Christmas nightgowns, and if I would have known, I would have brought mine. So I'm going to see if I can pull out my photo sizing square. All right, I will link to the video where I show you how I make these. I have these in a whole bunch of different sizes. I wish that I had a 2 3/4 to use on this square. I have a 2 1/2, which I think might be too small, but I would really love to be able to put more of these pictures and just kind of crop them down. I think I could crop this one down a little bit more, but if I could put some of these pictures in here, I just think that would be fun. So these are both my girls, and I think I won't need all of them, but I'll put them right here. Maybe I'll do this right here. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and trim these down to 2 1/2 is too small, although that makes a cute little picture, doesn't it? What about this one? I could do the 2 1/2. I think I'm going to try and cut them to 2 3/4 and see, and if I need to go down to 2 1/2, I can. That's the same photo, thankfully. I don't know that I need that one. So I'm going to crop these guys down. And with my personal trimmer, what I like to do is just kind of, I want this to be 2 3/4. So I'm just going to kind of put my finger right there and see where it's going to crop. So I don't mind cutting off her back and her little foot. Although it is a cute little foot. What if I didn't cut off her foot? No, we'll cut off her foot. Sorry. Oh, sorry, little Cassie. We're cutting off her foot. So there's 2 3/4. Make sure I got her whole head as much as I can in here, and then we'll go to 2 3/4 that way. I'll cut off her foot too. So that's kind of cute right there. I might even tuck it under that little rickrack, just so I have a little border. And this one, it's just going to be, maybe I'll try the top of her head. Oh no, see, that's going to cut off her chin. So we're going to make sure we get her whole chin, and then we'll go to 2 3/4. And 2 3/4 will be right there. So we'll get her ear. These two cuties right here. I wish I had some other sibling pictures, and I'm sure that I do. So maybe as I get going with the reunion pictures, these will be okay. All right, so since these are 4 by 6, and I know that that's, you know, I don't have to trim anything off the sides, I want to make it a little bit centered. So I'm going to cut a little bit of this beach towel thing off this. Let's make it 3 1/2 and see how that looks. It seems like it's still not exactly even, so I'm going to cut a little bit more. Cut it to 3 1/4 might be too much, but there we go. That's 3 1/4. I think I'll just see if I can do that one to 3 1/4 as well. This is a little harder because I want the people. Maybe I'll go to in between 3 1/4 and 3 1/2. Put them right there. These guys I can just cut the top off their heads. And then this one, we'll cut it 3 1/2 this way. And we'll cut 1/4 inch off that side. Did I do 3 1/2? Oh well. Remember, one of these is not quite 4 inches anyway. So there we go. Do I want this here? Or do I want this there? Maybe I want it there because I don't want them to be exactly lined up. I think I like this down there a little bit better. Here's the two sets of sisters in their jammies. Okay, so there's my finished layout. I haven't stuck these down, but you guys don't need to watch me stick them down. I think it turned out great. If I had some more pictures, I could put some other pictures in these spaces. I can journal. I could put, I was thinking 3 smaller, like 2 1/2 inch pictures across the top. You can have place for a title. If this isn't enough, I think I'm going to put like siblings or something. And yeah, another layout in my family reunion album done. Hooray! I have to be done by the end of June because the reunion is in July and I want to get it done. So this is my Savvy Scrapbookers layout for May. One of my faster layouts, you have to admit, and I want to show you again the other version with the Bees and Blossoms, which was last month's. Actually, maybe I should put the pictures on this so you can see how much nicer it looks when you don't have all that crazy pattern. All right, you see, I know this light's on right here, but you see how much nicer it looks with pictures on it. I'm just trying to justify my choice to use the busy flowered background, but I think it looks good. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and stick these down and call this done. So once you're done watching my video, I would like to encourage you to hop on over to Donna Guest, the Lazy Scrapbooker, and Debbie Martin, Debbie's Scrapbooking Buddies, and they are using the other parts of this collection, the other papers and the other embellishments to create 2 more layouts, double page layouts that you can use. And if you recreate my layout, Donna's, Debbie's, all 3 of them, you will only use the 1 pack of paper and the 1 pack of embellishments. You will have some embellishments left over, but we tried to mostly use all the paper. So I don't think I have any paper left over except those tiny little roller coaster pieces that I told you I didn't know what to do with. And it's just a good way to get the most out of your paper packs. It's a way to be savvy with your scrapbooking supplies. So I'd also love for you to join me on Thursdays. I'm doing a series called Theme Park Thursday, where I am 1 layout at a time creating an entire album, like before your eyes. This one, you know, design the layout first and then I show you how to make it. But with my Theme Park Thursday, I just kind of start with a pile of pictures and you get to see the whole process, where I get my inspiration, how I find inspiration, and then how I translate that. So that's every Thursday is Theme Park Thursday, and then we'll be back again on the second Wednesday of June with another edition of the Savvy Scrapbookers. Thanks so much, and happy scrapbooking.